This episode of Dana Being Dana is brought to you by presenting sponsors, the Homecoming Challenge, and Social MVP.
Hello and welcome to Dana Being Dana. That's me, and I'm thrilled that you're with us. My show is all about different aspects of the human connection, things that bring us together, and living life intentionally. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" Giving back and uplifting others is also important to us here at Dana Being Dana. Today, we are talking about an initiative that was started by the T-Shirt King and Dana Being Dana in 2017. It's called the Homecoming Challenge, and it's an organic alumni giving campaign designed for all college campuses. And I'm here with my founder and the entire board of directors of the Homecoming Challenge, Chris and Jason. How are you guys?
Fantastic.
Doing well, Dana. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for being here. Chris, I want to start with you and talk about how we started the Homecoming Challenge.
So homecoming is just a time of excitement at Morehouse College and at Spelman Homecoming.
Yes!
Yes, Spelman,
Yes!
we got to give you the shout out. But it's a time to re-energize, reconnect, and I've always gone back to homecoming, and you walk away and you have so much fun, but the Homecoming Challenge is the way to give a little while you're back at your school.
So let's go back. You chose Morehouse over other schools. What made you choose Morehouse?
You know, it's amazing because like the way people dress now is kind of like the 90s. The 90s flavor is coming back, the 90s flair. Earlier this year, Beyonce had the homecoming concert. But in the 90s, when I grew up, I may be a little bit older than you guys, but in the 90s, you had Martin Lawrence wearing the HBCU apparel. You had the Cosby Show. You had A Different World. You had hip-hop really embracing the HBCU culture. So that just drew my attention to Morehouse. And then doing a little history, Martin Luther King, like the comment you made earlier, that drew my excitement, and I just had to go to Morehouse.
Well, I'm originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I just wanted a different experience. So I actually knew a couple of guys who were down at Morehouse already. And so when I went down there to visit, it honestly just felt like home. And it was beautiful weather. It was springtime in Atlanta, which, as you both know, is the best time to be there.
Yes!
And so, you know, after I went down to visit, I came back to Minneapolis and I told my mother, I said, this is where I want to go. And the rest is history. It was a great decision and a great experience.
Chris, could you talk a little bit more about what exactly entails the Homecoming Challenge?
My roommate, he was Mr. Homecoming. We lost him in 2014, Myron Burney. And his energy was all about connecting people and bringing homecoming together and bringing different walks of lives together. That's how I know Dana Being Dana. And so one of the things, he organized all the parties and the events. So the Homecoming Challenge came about as of what can we do to connect current students with alums and let them know that, you know, there's a way, that there's a path for you. I've been in the same dorm that you've been into. So the challenge is simple. Go to your freshman room dorm and donate money, give a business card, and just connect with that person in that room. And so let them know that, you know, hey, I was in this room, I studied late in this bed, and now I'm a doctor, or now I'm a business owner, or now I have a talk show. So just letting those students know, like, hey, this is something that's possible. Funny story, when I was at Morehouse, it was Myron Burney, Aaron, who's a doctor now, we were roommates. And so on our answer machine, we had Master P Bout It playing. So the Big A, you know he's bout it.
Bout it.
B-Do, you know
Yes.
he's bout it.
Get it.
And so Shaka Rashid called me, an alum, and said, hey man, if you want a job working on Wall Street, you're gonna have to change your answer machine. And that did it for me, and it put in my heart, like if I'm ever in a position where I could give something to a student, I want to drop that same knowledge that Shaka did to me. So that's what the Homecoming Challenge is about, is giving back to students. To me, that's the golden nugget about the HBCU experience. It's the continuum of lifelong friends and lifelong opportunities and building that network. But it starts with the alums connecting with the students.
Jason, in 2017, we decided to launch the Homecoming Challenge on Dana Being Dana, which was a radio show, and you were on that show, correct?
Yes, I was.
You accepted the Homecoming Challenge, and you did it at Morehouse. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I mean, at first, it was just an honor to be invited to the very first Homecoming Challenge show, which looks a lot different than this set. We were all kind of crammed in a room, and it wasn't as professional as this. However, we were able to start something, and it was a great experience. I mean, there was a bunch of people who I knew there, and we all just kind of sat back. We got to talk about why we chose to go to the school that we chose to go to, and what the school actually means to us. And so that's really what the Homecoming Challenge is about. Those good feelings that you get when you go down to homecoming, transfer those to a student who's currently there. So as Chris said, these students can see what's possible when you're 10, 15, 20 years out of school.
It's not just about going back, it's about giving back. And you guys did that. I appreciate what you did, because you both went back with your sons.
Yes.
You have 2 boys?
2 boys, 3 boys, 2 younger boys. But we go back, and they're at the point now where they're like, yeah, you lived there, you had class there. So they're really getting to understand the Morehouse experience.
It was an amazing experience. As I said, when I first touched down in Atlanta, I said, I have to go to homecoming and do the Homecoming Challenge. So I had my family with me. It was important for me to bring my son, who was 4 years old at the time, with me so that he could not only see where Dad went to college, but also see that when Dad goes back for homecoming, that he gives back.
So the Homecoming Challenge is now a nonprofit.
Yes, it is.
That's so awesome. We really have a great thing going on here today with the Homecoming Challenge, and I really want to thank you both for being here and for supporting that initiative.
Well, thank you for having us, Dana.
We'll be right back with more on the Homecoming Challenge. Stay with us.
In Naperville, we know that community counts. In fact, it's in our name. As Naperville Community Television, we have the privilege of showcasing what makes this award-winning city a wonderful place to raise a family, to make a living, and to enjoy life's journey. That's why it's our mission to capture on camera those special moments that connect us. Those stories that impact our lives, stories you won't see anywhere else. So watch Naperville Community Television on air, online, and on social media.
Welcome back to Dana Being Dana. We are talking about the Homecoming Challenge, a grassroots alumni giving campaign that started in 2017. I'd like to now welcome some friends of mine from other types of collegiate institutions, Big Ten, faith-based, and Ivy League. I'm here with Laura, Michael, and Heidi. How are you guys?
Good.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Fantastic. Can you each tell me where you went to school and your connection to your institution?
I don't like to talk about that.
It's fine. It's fine. I went to Indiana University.
Big Ten.
Yeah, Big Ten. Woo, woo, woo. I'm from Indiana, and have always, my parents went there, and I always thought about attending. And my sister was there. She was a senior, actually, when I was a freshman at IU. Loved it. Loved what I studied, all the good stuff. I could keep going. Michael, you're up.
Yeah, I went to Cornell. And I went there because I was a giant nerd and wanted to be an engineer.
Yes.
Huge. And
love nerds.
The other great engineering program was University of Illinois, and that was much too close to home for my taste. So To Ithaca I went.
My name's Heidi, and I went to DePaul. I actually grew up in the city, so our church was down the street from DePaul in Lincoln Park, so we would drive by it every Sunday morning, and I always just thought I think I might want to go there, and then I did.
So let's talk about what's most memorable for you about being at your school.
At DePaul, since it is in the city, it felt almost like the whole city was your campus. Like it was, not your traditional type of campus because you're in the middle of, this huge city. And I took, the L to classes or to meet people or whatever.
Did you live at home?
I did not. No, I lived
on campus.
On campus in Lincoln Park. Yeah. So it was just kind of exciting. Scary too at times, but exciting.
That's interesting because one of the things that I remember the most about where I went to school was that there's this very traditional campus, and Cornell's this big monstrous place in the middle of nowhere, and the university is a place of its own, and so it was sort of being part of this really interesting community that was very different from where I grew up, but just this whole kind of idyllic college experience in the sense of the ivy on the walls and the big clock tower and all that kind of stuff. So it was very much the environment for me as well.
Oh, interesting. I loved the environment. It was similar. It sounds like to Cornell at Indiana. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. There's limestone, there's tulips, there's sample gates, there's arches. It's beautiful. That was definitely one of the things that drew me to Indiana. But I also loved they had excellent academics. I was an English major, and the English program there was top notch. And you could have asked me in 7th grade, "Am I going to do this? What are you going to be?" I'm going to be an English major. Don't know what I'm going to do with it, but So I loved that idyllic sense of being there. I love the academics of it. But beautiful campuses, man, they woo you.
Can we talk about how she's showing off by talking about academics? We're just talking about what it's like to all the stuff we could do.
Ivy League, absolutely.
It's like, well, I got to learn things, and that was good too. So.
Well, Talk about your freshman experience and how you could have benefited from the Homecoming Challenge.
I'm going to jump in. I think that, first of all, the Homecoming Challenge is an excellent idea, and I absolutely personally could have benefited, even though I was someone from the state, somewhat familiar with the campus. Something that wasn't innate to me, or something that I didn't have a lot of skill in yet, was connecting with a mentor. I didn't know how to do that. I was nervous about going to professors' office hours. I'm like, oh, I don't need to bother them. I know how to write an essay. No. It's about that relationship, as often you preach and preach and teach. And for me, that was not something I was good at yet. And I didn't take the time to do it the way that I really could have, or quote unquote should have. But I think I absolutely could have benefited from an alumna or alumni coming back and encouraging me to find folks on the campus, or even them.
Yeah, I echo that. I mean, to a different extent, I think I got the same benefits. I was, a member of a fraternity, and a big part of that is the alums will come back and provide advice, and you can sort of develop these relationships that way. But as a freshman, you're on your own for the first time. You don't know anything. You think you know it all.
Right.
And it'd just be so great to have a person who can show up and say, here are some tricks for navigating this.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff you don't figure out till you're a junior or a senior, to have someone come to you as a freshman and sort of give you those shortcuts, I think would have made you feel a little bit more at home, as opposed to feeling so alone. Because I think that's a big part of everyone's freshman experience, is you kind of do feel alone.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. As exciting as it was going to school in the city, it was also pretty scary, I think, for a young adult. I can remember standing on the L platform and being like, oh my gosh, there's so many people around me right now, and I'm all by myself, and I don't know anybody. And so it would have been great to have somebody kind of come and I don't know, make me feel a little safer and, I don't know, more secure.
What advice do you have for students as if you were participating in the Homecoming Challenge?
I think for me, it would be a little bit, it's kind of what you said earlier, Michael. It's the confidence will come as a junior and senior, and I would encourage that younger freshman, sophomore, just say, you're not wasting our time.
Yeah.
We want to get to know you. There is a larger community here, and we can help guide you. Like, I know that I am, as a Naperville resident, I'll pop down the street to, like, let's say Schmaltz or something, Schmaltz Deli, and the guy's like, I'm going to Indiana, and I'm like, oh my gosh, check out A, B, and C. Like, if you need something, like, whatever. I just think it's that don't be afraid. You're not wasting your time. We're glad to help. Like, we're proud alumni.
I think it's something like I tell my kids, which is always, it's okay to be scared of things. It's okay to feel like the fish out of water. Everyone probably feels like you do, and just kind of own the experience a little bit and don't feel bad about it. And if I think about, I spent so much of my freshman year feeling awkward. And it was silly because you would have had a much better time if you knew that everyone was going through the same thing. So just letting people know that everyone's in the same boat, and it's okay to feel the way you feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a big one. You're not alone. Probably every other freshman on the campus probably feels exactly how you do. Yeah.
And the ones who don't are lying.
Yeah.
We're just super sophisticated.
Wise beyond their years.
And I think that's so important. Pouring into college freshmen and letting them know that you're here and they're not alone. So I appreciate all of you being a source of wisdom, knowledge, and advice, and being here with us today to share some of that wisdom. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Dana Being Dana. Welcome back to Dana Being Dana, and joining me are alumni who've accepted the Homecoming Challenge from Spelman, Tuskegee University, and DePaul University. Hello, my friends.
How you doing, Dana?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Great.
Awesome. Can each of you tell me about your particular institution and why you chose that school?
I'll start. I attended DePaul University, both undergrad and graduate. Undergrad, I decided to go because my aunt attended the university, and when she was going through school, I was in high school, elementary school, and she took me along to her classes. So that was really my first exposure to college. So that was one of the reasons why I chose it. Another reason, it was close to home, and then being in the city. So I knew I wanted to be in business, and being in Chicago, I just felt like that was a good fit.
In graduate school?
Graduate school, just because of the part-time MBA program, I was already working full-time, and so I just felt like that was, convenient and easy for me. It just felt, right to go back for graduate school.
Awesome. Oops.
Well, see, I attended Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama. The reason why I attended Tuskegee, I wanted to pursue aerospace engineering. They had a great aerospace engineering program. I was big into military and history. I have uncles and cousins that served, and so I knew the history of the Tuskegee Airmen. So for all those various reasons, and also I was a legacy that my mother got a nursing degree from Tuskegee University. So there were many reasons why I chose it, and it was a great choice. Graduate school was University of Michigan, Ross School of Business.
Big Ten.
Yep.
All right.
And I attended Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. My mom introduced me to Spelman. One of her coworkers had a daughter at Spelman at the time, and went to visit the campus, fell in love, and then just randomly met a Spelman alum that was from South Carolina. She just overheard me mention Spelman and invited me to the Chicago area alumni breakfast. And after I heard the Spelman hymn, that was pretty much it. So, and then I went to University of Illinois for law school.
What is memorable to you about your collegiate experience? What's your most memorable moment?
Well, coincidentally, I would say different homecomings. Starting with my very first homecoming there, it was one amazing to me because I would see people coming back and that they still had a passion for the school. My best friend in high school was 1 year behind me, and my parents brought him to visit, for homecoming. So that my very first homecoming was just kind of so, I would say maybe emotional, or in that there was so many different generations involved. And throughout my time there, different homecomings, having to prepare for homecomings, having to prepare for alumni coming back was another one. And then when I graduated, the times that I returned, those different memories are pretty special.
I think that's what's so important. And you all participated in the Homecoming Challenge, correct?
Yes.
The Homecoming Challenge, once again, it's our campaign about going back, giving back, and investing and pouring into students who are currently at the school. Can you talk a little bit about your experience? Number one, you accepted the Homecoming Challenge after finding out about it in 2017. You went back to your alma maters and you participated in the Homecoming Challenge. So can you talk about what that experience was like?
Can I go?
Absolutely.
So, my experience was wonderful. The week before I participated in the Spell House Homecoming Challenge or Homecoming Show. And so that's when you gave us our cards to give to the students. And I wasn't going back for homecoming, but my classmate was Stacey Abrams, and she was running for governor. So I was going back to help with the campaign. And another alum that was on the set, her daughter, she has 2 daughters that are Spelman now. And coincidentally, when I went back to my dorm room, it was one of that alum's daughters that was in my room. So,
look at that.
Yeah, so it was, a great coincidence. When I first went to the door, they weren't there, but I let their mom know, because you could see the names on the outside of the door. So I was really excited, let her mom know, and then we connected the next day. So it was so exciting, not only because of their legacy, because she was the youngest of 3 daughters that went to Spelman, but knowing her mom, knowing everything that Spelman meant to me, meant to her mom, and to them, that just made it even more rewarding.
And that's what it's all about. It's about going back to your college campus and leaving a business card or money if the student is not there, putting it in an envelope, sliding it under the door, and leaving words of wisdom, words of knowledge, just, hey, I used to be in this room, I used to be in this dorm, I used to be in this campus. This is who I am, this is what I'm doing now, and this is my advice to you.
Yes.
So I appreciate you accepting the challenge and sharing that wisdom and knowledge with wonderful Spelman students who were in your room when you were there. And who have been there before. You've been there before, and you being there a part of that. What about you two?
So my experience, I went back to my freshman dorm, did not remember like what room or anything, what floor I stayed in. So I was in the lobby area. There were some students, 2 students hanging out, watching TV in the area, in the lobby area. So I just decided to let them know what I was doing. I'm doing this homecoming challenge, and I just wanted to give them a little something, you know, to help encourage them through their studies and just encourage them to work hard and carry on.
And I think that's what's so important, because it's not always about what room you're in and what dorm specifically, but it's about being present and being there. For a lot of people, your dorm room may be a parking lot now. It may be, it may be an academic building.
Right.
It may no longer be in existence, but it's about going back and giving back. Whenever you find yourself on campus, whether it's recruitment or dropping off a student, picking up a student, speaking, or whatever it is, it's about giving back and pouring into the students that are there, the students that are existing, and that's what's so important. Lewis, do you want to talk about your experience with the Homecoming Challenge?
Well, let's see. We have, my wife and I both are graduates of Tuskegee, and so we kind of both did the homecoming challenge.
So romance at Tuskegee. Hello.
And you know, we both also lived off campus when we were there, not together.
Did y'all meet in school?
So funny story, we don't have time for it, but we met
we got time for it.
1 month before I graduated. So we really didn't know each other pretty much our entire college careers. We met just right before I graduated.
That's so nice.
And since we didn't have really dorm rooms, right, we modified the challenge a little. But we knew people who had children that went to Tuskegee, and we sought them out. So we had a neighbor whose daughter attends Tuskegee. She's in the band. So after the game, you know, we could see her, and we were able to catch her attention before the band left, and we called her to the side and blessed her with a little bit of green paper. And she was appreciative of that. And my best friend from college, his youngest, attends Tuskegee. And so we let him know that we were going to be down there, and we wanted to give her something when we were down there. So he texted her and said, hey, your Uncle Lewis is coming to homecoming, and make sure you catch up with him.
Absolutely.
And so she brought her roommate, and so we blessed them with a little bit of something.
So do you think the Homecoming Challenge is important? Do you see the connection between alumni and students?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Vitally important. I mean, first of all, no student has enough money or enough food. And so I think, you know, they all see it as an unexpected, you know, blessing. And I think it's important for them to see how successful alumni of that university can be. So that it's something that they can see in themselves, that, oh, you know, this test that I'm taking, or these classes that I'm taking, you know, I could be that person one day.
That could be me.
You know, coming back. So I think it's important for you know, people to go back and show that.
I appreciate each of you for sharing your college experience, accepting the Homecoming Challenge, and discussing it here with us today. Showing up is so important, now more than ever on college campuses. As adults, it's important to set examples of selflessly giving back to others. And any young student that you bless on college campuses will think that what you're doing now in your careers and in your life is amazing. When you show up for others, you leave an indelible mark on their heart and quite possibly their circumstance. I encourage you to show up for others by accepting the Homecoming Challenge the next time you return to your campus. I do not promise to be an expert, nor do I have all of the answers. I'm just Dana being Dana. See you next time.